It's the year 2000 and we've all survived the Y2K bug. The computers have spared us from the apocalypse and the PlayStation 2 has just been released in Japan, ending the life of the PlayStation 1. Or maybe not, as 4 months later Squaresoft ships Final Fantasy IX to the world for the PlayStation 1. Created as a retrospective for the series, it broke away from futuristic worlds of Final Fantasy 6, 7 and 8, returning to the medieval theme of the earlier titles. Throughout the game there are many nods to the earlier titles, and a change back to the class system with more traditional job roles like the Thief and the Dragoon. On top of this, combat has gone back to having 4 characters in a party at a time instead of the usual 3 that we've gotten used to in titles released before. And this was jarring to the fans who jumped on board from Final Fantasy 7, with me being one of them. This was a bit of a risk for Square, but it turned out to be the right decision as FF9 is commercially a success. It has a very deep story and the world building is fantastic. Characters are all unique and have their own personalities and reasons for doing what they're doing, except Queener maybe, as they just go along because they're hungry. Anyway, stepping away from the realism and leaning more into the fantasy elements, FF9 has become a favourite for many players, seen as a love letter to the series. There are many things I can talk about in Final Fantasy IX, like the friendly monsters and the best Chocobo minigame, but I'm not going to, as today we are playing FF9 but in a different way. Now, I've downloaded a couple of mods which refresh and rebalance the game. The first mod, and the most crucial, is the Memoria mod. This amazing tool is uploaded by Albiris, I can't read, and the description is a community rewrite of Final Fantasy IX's game engine that aims to add features, fix bugs and expand mod making capabilities. Memoria includes a built-in mod manager, bug fixes and optional improvements while supporting third-party mods. There's already a plethora of mods ready to be downloaded with just a click, and within this list is the next one I've installed, which is the Meguri mod. This mod is uploaded by ZPilot and the description is: Meguri mod is a total revamp of the PC version of Final Fantasy IX, helped by deep learning techniques. What this does is it upscales the textures in the game and also makes them a 16:9 aspect ratio. This doesn't work on some scenes and areas in the game, but for the majority of the game this works flawlessly and looks great. You can download this from the Memoria engine, or if you just want the Meguri mod on its own, it can also be downloaded separately. All links are below in the description. Last but not least, and probably the most impactful mod, is the Alternate Fantasy, which was uploaded by Teletity. Whatever. As for the description, this mod aims at increasing the difficulty and above all give a new fresh experience to Final Fantasy IX. Changes include many changes to the battle system and enemies and their abilities. There's one thing that I'm keeping hidden till later, and the reintroduction of a few scenes that were sidelined in the original and some new bosses as well. There's a bunch that's been changed and added, and Trilogy has released the full notes on the Steam forum, which again I'll link in the description, or you can go into the unknown like I did. Up to you, but now that I've explained what the mods are, I guess it's time to jump in. The game begins and we're in a dark, spooky room. We meet our first character, Zidane, whatever you want to call him, who's our thief, but now so much more. Zidane's skills have been changed up, with flee and detect being the only ones remaining, but I'll talk about these more as we learn them. There's other things that have been changed about him, but again, I will talk about them when we get to it. We meet the boys of Tantalus, and as you can see, the background and characters look amazing. But there's no time to appreciate the scenery as Baku comes in, cosplaying as a dragon, and a battle begins. One nice touch with the Alternate Fantasy mod is that the steal rate has been increased. Now, you're not guaranteed to get an item every single time, but you won't be there forever like you usually are in the base game. Anyway, Baku is a bit stronger now, and he actually kills Sinner. Killing your own men seems a bit messed up, but okay. Anyway, laughing off murder, we go in to plan the kidnap of the princess. While the guys go and prepare, we switch over to a little black mage. This little guy who is trying his best is Vivi, and he has changed quite a lot. Off the bat, he starts with MP plus 20, which is good as his magic costs a lot of MP now. His magic has also been changed, being a bit weaker, but also now inflicting status effects. But for now, Vivi tries to get in to see a play, and apparently was scammed by a Moogle. Stupid damn Moogles. We try to cheer up with a bit of skipping, but apparently I suck at it, so we give up with that and enter into the alleyway nearby. What? Yell at Vivi again and I'll burn this town down. Anywho, a rat kid makes us his slave and then Vivi gets attacked by another Moogle. Surviving his run-in with that evil pest, Vivi and our rat lord Puck sneak into Alexandria Castle, just in time to see the play that is being put on by Tantalus. We have a little mock fight now and the SFX abilities are actually doing damage, which is a bit weird because I swear they used to do nothing. But for a play fight, it's a bit more difficult than it should be, so much that he actually kills Zidane. What the f? Impressing 100 out of 100 nobles and Queen Bran, we get a fat sum of money, but no moonstone apparently. I'm sure you normally do, but okay, whatever. Zidane sneaks into the castle and carries out the kidnapping. While this is going on, we play as my boy Steiner, who doesn't really do much here apart from run around till he finds the princess being chased by Zidane. Flopping into a building, we take control of Zidane again, and it turns out the princess wants to be kidnapped. Unfortunately for them, Steiner is a bit of a bloodhound and tracks them down. Luckily, Zidane's friends give us a hand, which is very useful as Steiner starts multi-attacking. We rob him blind until Blank's armour explodes, releasing Oglops everywhere. Okay. Not one to give up, Steiner follows the group onto the stage and we fight him again. SFX are no longer doing damage and Steiner has 2 of his knights with him. So now we have Garnet and Vivi helping us. Being our white mage, Garnet tries to keep the group healed, but this isn't enough to stop Steiner and he wipes out the team. No doubt. Apparently, it turns out it doesn't matter if you lose this fight and the game continues. This is when Garnet's loving mother shoots a massive bomb towards the ship, which leads into another fight. Oblivious, Steiner continues to attack us, but after a short time, the bomb explodes, killing everyone. Would be a very short game if that was the case, so the theatre ship flies out of Alexandria and crashes into Evil Forest. Zidane sets out to find Garnet and the others, and it turns out a big plant is trying to eat them. Vivi has a bit of a breakdown, so Zidane and Steiner rush in to save her. Apparently, this woman that Zidane has known for 5 minutes being held in a plant is enough to make him trance. We get the choice of 2 attacks, but we can't use Tidal Flame as it will hit Garnet. We can use free energy, but it doesn't really do much. Our attack's only doing around 20 damage, and this plant likes to use Absorb on Garnet, healing itself, and it likes to use it a lot. So I'm having to constantly use potions on Garnet. The fight goes on for a while until Zidane goes down, and with just Steiner left trying to do damage, heal Garnet and keep himself alive, Garnet dies and we get a game over. This fight is a lot more difficult than it usually is, so beforehand I get Zidane to level 5 and steal a bunch of potions. The second attempt goes better, though I end up using all of my potions, and now Vivi is taken by the plant and he's also silenced. Awesome. Luckily, I have 1 echo screen in my item, so now Vivi can cast fire. Though annoyingly, I have to use my high potions to keep Vivi and Zidane alive, but eventually the plant dies not before poisoning Vivi and Steiner. Back to the theatre ship, and luckily we seem to have some antidotes. Zidane fights his dad boss, and once Vivi and Steiner are fit, we are able to leave the theatre ship to look for Garnet. And we can also buy some stuff from Sinner. Am I actually saying his name right? I don't know. Winning that money from the performance is very helpful here, as I can buy a bunch of potions and status items. I spend some time getting everyone to level 5 and we stroll through the forest and fight the plant brain. And straight away it blinds everyone. Not the end of the world, and eventually Blank joins. I try to use a potion on Zidane, but Steiner throws it on Vivi, so Zidane goes down. After he's revived, I try to potion Zidane again, only for Steiner to throw it on Blank this time. I was very confused at this point, but it turns out it's because Steiner was blinded. So now blind doesn't just affect whether you'll hit an enemy or not, now it also affects the accuracy when trying to use potions and magic on your allies. I put a more detailed explanation on the screen, but yeah, now blind is a real pain in the arse. Anyway, the fight carries on and Vivi finishes it off with a fire. Princess Garnet has been saved, but now the entire forest comes after us. With no other options, we make a run for it, and Vivi is clearly a Naruto fan. More running and Blank gets hard, and now that we're out of the forest, we do a bit of camping. A Moogle invades our personal space and warns us of a lot of stronger enemies ahead. Out into the world map, and apparently Garnet can now equip Zidane's dagger. Either way, our next location is right in front of us, which is the Ice Caverns. Vivi talks about his grandpa and we head in. I get into a random battle, and yes, Garnet is using a dagger. It's just a texture swap, but it's still kind of cool. Further into the Ice Caverns, and Vivi gets revenge on one of those damn Moogles. So excited about this, he flips off the ledge. And then everyone decides this is a good place to freeze to death, so they all take a nap. Only for Zidane to be awoken by a strange sound. Turns out to be a black waltz, and he's not happy that Zidane's awake, so he attacks. I made sure to put Zidane in the back row, as I'm going to want to steal this guy and his sea lion stuff. If you are not sure as to why they are glowing, it is because the black waltz has protect on and the sea lion has shell. This lasts throughout the whole fight, which is great. The black waltz is spamming me with fire and blizzards and also heals the sea lion. Plus side though is I've got a bunch of potions, so it's not too difficult to keep Zidane alive. Though it's difficult when most of my actions are just healing and I'm struggling to kill the enemy. The sea lion helps me out though by casting Tsunami. It hurts me quite a bit, but it also kills the black waltz for me, so silver linings. Zidane trances, but it's not as strong as it was, and I waste a turn using a potion anyway. But now that the sea lion is alone, it starts casting Blizzara, which is just great. But yeah, half a dozen potions later and the sea lion dies. Now that the waltz is gone, everyone wakes up and we carry on to the outside. This is when Garnet tries to hide her royalty and changes her name to Dagger. Now totally unrecognisable, we head into the village of Dali. This nice little village seems like a lovely place, but it turns out they're a bunch of racists. To make things even worse, they abduct Vivi. Dagger and Zidane get worried as they haven't seen Vivi in a while, so they head out to find him. They come across a spot and hear crying, which turns out to be Vivi. Trapped underground, and someone's got to die for this, so we find the not so secret hatch into the underground facility. In the facility now, Dagger stops me murdering everyone, and we eventually find Vivi, who's been stuffed in a box. There's a weird machine sucking in mist, so of course we have to find out what it's doing. While looking around, we get into a random encounter and a ghost casts fire on Vivi, which as you can see also inflicts the heat status effect. So yeah, I alluded to this earlier, but black magic can cause status effects now, with fire causing heat, blizzard causing freeze, thunder causing slow, and wind causing float. There's a few more to mention, but we'll see them as we play. Anyway, we come across the horrible reality that the black mages are being made by these machines of the mist. This of course isn't something Vivi takes very well, but there's no time to talk about it as we need to hide. And Zidane chooses to hide everyone in one of the machines, which ends up with us being trapped in boxes. Meanwhile, Steiner has been trying to find out a way to get back to Alexandria and is informed that the ship in Dali is heading that way. Now he's got his transport, all he needs is a way to trick Dagger onto the ship, so runs back to Dali. Steiner being Steiner sees a big barrel, so of course stabs it with his sword, almost beheading Dagger. He's a great knight. The party is back together and Steiner tells a sneaky little lie saying the ship is heading towards Lindblom. Before anyone can even question it, another black waltz decides to pop in and tries to take Dagger back itself. The fight begins and the waltz isn't playing, casting fire, which he does to everyone including Dagger, which ends up with her being inflicted with heat and dying. You are really bad at your job. Reviving the team, we go on the offensive, and it turns out whatever magic Vivi uses, the waltz will counter with a stronger version. Black Waltz 2 is pretty strong, but with Dagger keeping everyone healed, Steiner chops it in half. With the waltz out the way, we jump onto the ship that is totally not heading to Alexandria, and Zidane earns himself a trip to HR. It looks like the ship is being controlled by the black mages, and they seem very docile. Steiner also slips up that the ship is heading towards Alexandria, so Zidane turns from a thief to a pirate and commandeers the ship. While this is going on, it turns out the Black Waltz isn't done with us yet, and number 3 appears. Our docile black mages try to defend us, but are no match for the waltz, and he kills them. You monster. Pissed off, Vivi trances, and we don't have Dagger this time, so I have to rely on potions and Phoenix Downs more. But it's not too bad. The waltz does keep killing Vivi, but I use Steiner as support while Zidane steals. Vivi is my main damage dealer here, not that his magic is very strong anymore. I think he's been toned down for balance reasons, but you can still be quite powerful if you put the time in to use a couple of focuses. Either way, the boys pull through, avenging our mages. Oh god, I said I wouldn't cry. Vivi repeatedly nukes the waltz and we escape through the south gate into Lindblom. Inside the castle now, and we are greeted an audience with the regent who Steiner punches. Attacks on the royalty out the way, we do some shopping, but it looks like the mod creator has changed the prices of some of the things, and has also removed the cotton robe trick. Not really an issue as we've earned loads of money fighting random encounters. We bump into a rat lady who turns out to be an old friend of Zidane's. This is Freya and she will be our dragoon. The majority of Freya's abilities have been changed, removed or altered. Let's put it this way, there is no more dragon crest, so she's not quite as broken. Back in the castle and Zidane turns into Agent 47, killing a guard for his disguise.
What are you doing?
Hello there.
While mooching around, we hear someone singing and go investigate. Turns out it is Dagger singing, and it's impressive how she also sounds like a bunch of instruments. Anyway, the next day arrives and everyone's preparing for the hunt. This is a tradition for Lindblom where they release a bunch of monsters in the city and people track them down. Zidane, Vivi and Freya are all taking part in this event and have all requested their rewards if they win. The only one who asks for anything decent is Freya, so as soon as Zidane enters the hunt, he accidentally falls on his weapon. No, what happened? The hunt is over and Freya has won. The reward that she is given is the coral ring, which will become very handy as it absorbs thunder. I can't remember if I said this earlier, but gear has also been reworked in this mod, with some teaching different abilities and have also different effects. Like for example, Zidane's butterfly sword now teaches a skill called free energy, and yeah, that is one of his 9 abilities, but now we can use it whenever we want. Anyway, there is no time to celebrate as a rat dude crashes the party, informing us that Freya's home of Bermesia is under attack by a bunch of black mages. Knowing this has something to do with Alexandria, Dagger wants to go, but the party advised against it. Not happy with that decision, Dagger roofies everyone apart from Steiner, who she orders to take her back to Alexandria so she can speak to her mother. Are you forgetting this is the woman who shot a giant bomb at you? Either way, the rest of the party eventually reawaken and make their way out of Limblum. Back in the world map, and we have quite a distance to travel, but close by is a swamp. And here we meet Queener. What the f- 70 to 90 years old. Either way, they end up coming with us and eating all of our enemies. Another thing to add is that Queener's trance has been changed. Usually trance Queener will get the cook ability, which makes eating enemies easier. This is absolutely pointless when fighting against bosses or enemies you don't need to eat, so the mod creator has changed it to double blue magic. Queener is already a great character, and this makes them even better. Last thing to add, some of the blue magic that we can usually learn is either gone or changed up slightly, with some new ones added too. I don't know exactly what the differences are, as I've never bothered to really learn all the blue magic, but I think spells like Limit Glove have been removed. Before carrying on, I do some chocobo stuff and eat a bunch of enemies to learn some blue magic, and then eventually head into Gizmaluke's grotto. Inside, and this rat guy gives us a bell and sadly passes away. I can still see you blinking. Further in, and our docile black mages have turned against us, and they are pretty strong. So strong they actually kill me. Okay then. Sometime later, and we head back in, and Vivi's magic is still pretty weak here. It also doesn't help that the black mages seem to be immune to a lot of the status effects. Plus side though, the other characters seem to be a lot stronger, and the black mages are dealt with. I find some new items, and as you can see, the Mage's hat has a different property, granting MP 20 as a passive ability. A lot of items are different now, but I'm not going to go over each one. We meet another one of those damn evil Moogles who steals Vivi's nuts. You bastards. Anyway, I make some preparation and head in to fight Gizmaluke himself. Queener has just enough MP to cast Mighty Guard once, so I make sure to apply that, and I take the time to use Focus on Vivi a few times. I rinse and repeat this while stealing with Zidane and using an Aether on Queener for when Mighty Guard runs out. I eventually start casting Thunder on Gizmaluke, but he doesn't seem to be very weak against it anymore. And on top of this, every time Vivi casts magic, Gizmaluke will try to silence him. Vivi hasn't learnt Loudmouth yet, but luckily it misses quite a bit. The battle carries on, and it turns out ice is more effective here. It also takes me far too long to realise that Gizmaluke can be blinded with Zidane's Soul Blade. Not that it's really useful for me, as shortly after he dies. While this is going on, Steiner and Dagger have made their way to Grand South Gate. Dagger is snuck in, hiding in a bag of pickles, which I don't really understand why, as when they get inside, no one seems to recognise her anyway. That's all that pretty much happens there, so it's back to Team Zidane, and we waddle over to Bermesia, realm of eternal rain, also known as England. And just like England, we get attacked walking down the street. Vivi has learned a new spell called Annoy. It afflicts the trouble status effect whoever it is cast on, which is great synergy with the rest of the team. Anyway, we make our way through the rainy city, avoiding being turned into stone and being jump scared by chests, until we reach the upper area of the city, where we find a mithril spear for Freya. It comes with the ability Raise Wind and a new one called Dragon Life, and it's amazing. It applies auto life on Freya and revives her to full HP, and it isn't very costly MP wise. Further on, and we are outside the palace, and apparently going through the door is too easy, so we opt to climb the structure instead. Is there like a ladder around here somewhere? Inside the palace, and our hunch is correct about Alexandria being involved, as Queen Bran is there with her general Beatrix. Even Freya's old boyfriend knows not to mess with her. A very seductively dressed man enters and chats to the Queen and her general, confirming that he is the mastermind behind the Black Mages. While they are chit-chatting, a rat dude runs in to try to take on Beatrix, clearly not knowing she is not to be messed with. I would have personally let him die, but our heroes have more honour than me and jump in to save him. Beatrix calls us nothing but insects, and she's not wrong. So now we enter the fight against Beatrix, and she's her usual self, but on steroids. She now inflicts doom with her normal attacks, and has no problem one-shotting us with shock. She also mass blinds the whole team, and as we found out against the plant brain, blind is very annoying now. Lots of Phoenix downs, and Beatrix also applies Reflect on herself, making Vivi pretty redundant in this fight. On the plus side, the coral ring is coming in handy with Zidane being healed whenever she hits him with Thunder Slash. Not that it really makes his fight any easier. Freya is the saviour here with her using cover, so she repeatedly dies saving her allies. It would have been great if I thought to use her new ability, but apparently I didn't think of that. I also started this fight with 31 Phoenix downs, and I'm starting to run out. Why won't this end? She eventually puts us out of our misery and ends the fight with stock break. Like, fuck for that. Not even worth killing, the Queen and Beatrix leave us there in our filth, and this brings us to the end of disc 1. Otherwise, if you've already seen it, then you know we just had our asses handed to us by Beatrix and ended disc 1. We head back on over to Dagger, who is having a nap while her friends are dying, and reach the summit station. Only one more train left till the duo makes it back to Alexandria, and conveniently we run into the boys of Tantalus again, and Marcus joins Steiner and Dagger, as he too is heading that way. Which I'm not going to complain about, as while we're on our way to Trino, the train comes to a stop by a demon apparently. Turns out to be our old buddy Waltz number 3, apparently being blown up by Vivi a bunch of times wasn't enough to finish this guy off. So I guess we'll put an end to it now. Luckily we have Marcus to steal everything from the Waltz, but also he has a few more abilities now. To the keen-eyed, you would have noticed that Marcus has Bandit on his commands, and he's been given 2 new abilities, one being a strong hit, which is pretty much dark side, and the other being contaminate, which would usually cause poison on the enemy, but Black Waltz seems to be immune. Talking about our Waltz buddy, he starts using an ability called Roulette, which kills whoever it lands on, apart from when it lands on him. Why not just use death? Anyway, he's also using the usual black magic, which if we remember from the first video, can now cause status effects. But this isn't enough to stop us with Dagger's healing magic, and it finally twitches to death. Back on the train, tram thing, and Marcus tells us his business in Trino, which is to find the Super Soft to save Blank, and Dagger being somewhat responsible forces her service. In the world map and heading to Trino, we get into our first encounter with a friendly monster. This little ghost dude just wants some ore, and as he's so polite, he can have all the ore he wants. And in return, he gives us a bunch of AP. Anyway, into Trino now, and everyone goes off to do their own things, with us following Steiner, who spends his spare time getting killed by a giant bird. Repeatedly. Stupid damn bird. Fed up of being pecked to death, we find Dagger and meet back up with Marcus. Baku is also here, and they found where to get the Super Soft from and plan to steal it. Dagger is in her rebellious teenage years, so goes along too, because screw you, mum? So yeah, we all break into the back of the synthesis shop and immediately get caught. Marcus is about to take care of him, but luckily Dagger seems to know this man, and I guess he gets to live. For now. This man is Dr. Tot and was Dagger's teacher when she was younger. Without much of an explanation, he jumps on board with the plan and helps her steal the Super Soft. In the meantime, we leave and wait for Dr. Tot by his massive tower. At the tippy top, Dagger and Tot reconnect and reminisce about the past, and Tot shares his loyalty to Dagger. His first act is to tell us about a transport that will take us straight from Trino to Alexandria, which is something called a Gargan route? Is it another train or a ship? No, it's a big ass bug with a basket attached to it. Hey then. On our giant gargant thing, things only get weirder when we're attacked by a giant tapeworm. Gross. Into the fight, and Dagger is able to use scan now, so we have a look just to see how different things are in this mod. This is something I don't do as often in this playthrough, unlike my last video on Final Fantasy VIII, so I won't have a change list on all the enemies, but yet, as we can see, they have more health, which is expected, but all the enemies in this mod have had their MP reduced. This is to somewhat alleviate just how much stronger their attacks are now. Also, as you can see, scan has been reworked and is so much more useful now, and it also can't miss. I mean, why was it something that missed anyway? It's just... Either way, there isn't really much to this fight. This big old worm, whose name I'm not even going to attempt to say, is still pretty similar to the base game. The only thing to note now is that I use Panacea with Dagger, and it's now usable on all party members. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty confident in the base game you can only cast it on one character at a time. Either way, I'm not complaining, and this worm gets slapped about and slithers away. Now we are dewormed, we end up underneath Alexandria Castle and walk into a trap straight away. How did they know we were coming? I guess for now we'll head back to Team Zidane, who's finally gotten up after the beating they received. We plan to follow the Queen into the windy city of Clara. Skip ahead a little and the group arrives and just walks straight through the giant tornado, apparently. Anyway, we make our way up the tree thing, and even some of the normal enemies now have things like Protect and Shed applied. We make it to the top of Clara and have a mooch round, only to hear that the antlion is going berserk. Seems like the Clarans are pacifists, so our team ends up having to deal with it. Back down to the entrance, and the antlion is indeed pissed off and trying to eat Vivi's old master Puck. As soon as the fight starts, the antlion uses Sandstorm, which deals moderate non-elemental damage to the party and reduces everyone's HP to single digits. Oh, and it also now inflicts blind. No worries though, as Freya uses Raise Wind and Quina follows up with a Mighty Guard, and then also follows up with the White Wind. Quina is the best. Vivi trances, but a move gets wasted as I'd already commanded him to Ether Quina, but whatever. I do a double Blizzard with Vivi, which does okay damage considering I've only used focus on him once. The Antlion's Counterhorn is inflicting Berserk. Again, I don't remember it doing that before, but I may be wrong. wrong. Either way, it starts going a little downhill with Queen dead and the antlion using Sandstorm again, though luckily Freya was mid-jump and Zidane trances. Zidane uses his Dyne Stellar Circle 5, and if you look close you'll see that it also reduces the antlion's crit resistance. His later Dyne moves also cause effects, but I'll mention them when we see them. Either way, more Sandstorms, and it's not looking good until I use a very expensive Blizzara with Vivi ending this fight. Everyone is safe and it turns out Puck is royalty. You think saving him would get us a reward of some kind, but no, I guess not. On top of this, Freya is forced to dance, which somehow causes a Sandstorm protecting Clara to disappear. With all this going on, we quickly see what's going on back at Alexandria, this time with Dagger being roofied and her Eidolons being extracted. Not that we can do anything about this, as the main team is still in a less dusty Clara. Now completely undefended, Beatrix and her troops start storming, and being the only people with any combat experience, our team are the only ones who can fight them off. Quina? What are you doing? What are you doing? So, Quina can eat humans now. That's not terrifying at all. Back to the top of Clara and black mages are attacking. I tried my best to save the civilians, but some end up dead. Oops. I found a gold helm for Freya, which has a new passive ability called Cheap Fate. It prevents the Doom status effect being applied, which is great as everything seems to use Doom now, and I don't want to keep wasting Phoenix pinions. We carry on, and I don't have any problem dealing with the enemies anymore. I think I'm finally starting to get used to this mod. Freya's boyfriend comes in when there's only 3 enemies left and steals all our glory. Yeah, don't worry about the other 50 I've just dealt with, that's fine. He also conveniently disappears when Beatrix turns up, leaving us to fight for our lives again. Oh god, here we go again, and Beatrix opens up with a mass silence, which is fine as Vivi has loudmouth now. And Freya and Zidane are unaffected by this status effect anyway. I remember to use Freya's new Dragon Life ability this time, which if you remember from the last video, it applies auto life to her and also fully heals her. As you can see, her normal attacks are inflicting doom again, but luckily Freya is immune to this now. Not that it stops Beatrix casting Holy and killing her. Touche, bitch. Touche. Not an issue though, as she had Dragon Life applied and I just reapply it again. Freya has always been a pretty decent character, but the mod creator has definitely made her support more of a priority. This aside, it doesn't stop Beatrix slapping me about. I get lucky that she misses a few attacks on Zidane, but that doesn't last long either. I was pretty sure I was about to wipe here, as I've only got Freya alive and no Phoenix downs. But with a mixture of Dragon Life and a bunch of jump, Freya drags us through. With Freya saving the day, everyone ends up jumping into some balls, following the black mages back to their ship, except Quina, who just nopes out. This is when Queen Bran uses one of Dagger's Eidolons to destroy Clara. On the Red Rose now, and Beatrix talks all her thoughts out loud, as you do. We also see the Queen on board and hear that she plans to execute Dagger once all the Eidolons are extracted. With our allies' lives in peril, Zidane and co end up using the ball pods again to head towards Alexandria. Why doesn't everyone use these instead of airships? Though Zidane's team is on the way, Steiner and Marcus aren't just going to sit around either and exploit a really stupid weakness to Alexandria's jail cells. After some swinging, the boys are free, though there are some guards around who surprisingly aren't too difficult to deal with, which is handy as Steiner is pretty weak at this point in the game. They do kill Marcus, but screw him, he's not a main team member. Out of the prison, and very conveniently Zidane and the others just floof down. They tell Steiner of what's happened and inform us that we have 30 minutes until the Red Rose returns and Dagger will be executed. For some reason, I think this is a good time to take on the Tantarian, and it goes as well as you imagine. Well, this isn't our only opportunity to fight this book thing, so we'll ignore it for now and carry on to find Dagger. After some aimless mooching, because I forgot where to go, we find Dagger, but before we can save her, we have to fight Zorn and Form. And these two are just a pain in the arse. Straight off the bat, they have a damn sight more health than they usually do, and these two turds now power each other up, but slightly different from how they usually do. Instead of giving each other a specific spell like Meteorite, they now just power each other up. Very vague. I didn't think much of this until I realised they're using stronger spells. For example, Zorn's Meteorite is now Catastrophe, which does more damage and also inflicts blind. I'm getting so sick of blind. Thorn also has a new ability called Jinx. I don't recall ever seeing this before, and when I looked it up, apparently it doesn't exist in Final Fantasy IX either. Who knows? What I do know is that it applies Annoy to anyone it's used on, and I'm guessing some other debuffs. I mean, I'm just assuming, as I imagine it probably works similar to Jinx starting Final Fantasy X. Who knows? I don't think he uses Flare anymore. He might not use it as he's apparently run out of MP, but either way, I'm not going to complain as they're actually doing a pretty good job of messing me up. With only Zidane and Freya left alive, we finally finish them off. We find Dagger and she's looking half dead. No time to ponder, we get out of here. One of those damn Moogles actually come in handy here as they're a shop so I can restock on my Phoenix downs, which is so drastically needed as for some reason we run into the Queen's quarters and come face to face with Beatrix. Oh god, not again. Oh joys. Our third and hopefully final fight against Beatrix. She's just like the second encounter, but seems even stronger. Again, this is just another slugfest. I revive someone and Beatrix will kill another. I am certain now that the fight doesn't end after a certain amount of attacks anymore, and we have to beat her down, which would be fine, but most of my moves are used in reviving my party. She starts using Stock Break a lot, which always hits 3 characters, and it does pretty high damage. With only Steiner left and being pretty squishy at the moment, she shocks him and we all die. Attempt number 2, and I'm more aggressive in this fight. Steiner's minor strike is pretty good here, and I just make sure whoever isn't attacking is either defending or on revive duty. Sooner or later the fight ends with us losing again, but this is a good thing. Beatrix, feeling remorse after seeing what she's allowed to happen to her princess, uses her overpowered magic to heal Dagger. Big Mama Brown also returns and doesn't give 2 shits about her daughter, and even when confronted by her right hand general, she still doesn't care. This ends up with us all trying to flee the castle while being attacked by a bunch of bandersnatchers. Freya and Beatrix stay back to buy us some time, but now Beatrix isn't quite as overpowered as she was. Oh, for fuck. The other team runs into a group of black mages who are casting pretty strong magic, which always seems to hit 2 people. It's not too bad though, as Zidane and Steiner are doing pretty decent damage and Dagger is able to heal everyone. Almost out, Steiner leaves Dagger in Zidane's care and goes back to help Beatrix and Freya. Though on our way out, we all fall for the same trap again. Marcus has come back to help us and has also saved Blank. I love you, Marcus. I swear you've always been my favourite. They do kill Marcus, but screw him, he's not a main team member. We hop onto our trusty Gargan and leave Alexandria. But it seems like this area is full of giant worms too. But this one's a green colour, which is different, I suppose. I do use scan on this pest and see that it's weak to ice, so I do use a bunch of focuses with Vivi while Zidane steals and Dagger heals. After a couple of blizzards and some blizzaras, this worm actually dies instead of running away. Back on the Gargan, and apparently the worm has come back from the dead and starts chasing the carriage again. We end up flying straight past Trino and smash into a wall. Luckily, we landed in Pinnacle Rock, and Master Roshi appears and talks to us about Eidolons and stuff. More chatting, and it turns out to be Rummer. He gives us a little test, and if we pass, he'll allow Dagger to summon him. Basically, we have to run around here and listen to 6 short stories and then relay 5 of them to him in the right order. I'm pretty sure even if you get it wrong, he joins you, but yeah, regardless, we run around listening to the stories and give our answer, which gains us a Peridot, and we can now summon Rummer. This should be cause to celebrate, but just outside of Pinnacle Rock, we can see Lindblom in the distance, and yeah, it's not good over there. And it only gets worse when the city is just straight up eaten. For how colourful and innocent this game looks, there's a lot of genocide going on. Sometime later, the team arrives in Lindblom, and surprisingly, there's still people alive here. But now the Alexandrian soldiers have taken over. We find the minister and he takes us to Sid, who's received intel that Kuja appeared from the outer continent. If you somehow don't know who I'm talking about, Kuja is the slutty man from the end of Disc 1. Anyway, knowing Kuja is working with the Queen, we seek to find out more about his plans, and the only way for us to travel to the outer continent, supposedly there's a dungeon nearby in a swamp that will take us directly there. We prepare for our journey by buying stuff. Zidane also acts like a cat to avoid detection. And we are out in the world map. We head straight for the marsh, and Quina, you're alive? It seems Quina is so strong that not even being blown to smithereens by Odin is enough to kill them. Quina also leads us straight to the passage we are looking for, and now we are in my most hated place in this game. Straight away, we are chased by whatever this thing is, and I run away. You can avoid this fight against Armodulahan. What the fuck are these names? But I suck apparently. It starts with level 4 death, but luckily none of my characters' levels are multiple 4. But this is the least of my worries as it starts casting Doomsday. Luckily I cast Mighty Guard beforehand and it turns out not to be that damaging. This enemy only has around 900 health, so it isn't too difficult for me to take down, and it eventually flops off a bridge. But as they say, when it rains, it pours, and now we're intercepted by Lani, which was one of Queen Bran's bounty hunters. Unlike the Black Waltz, Lani doesn't give 2 shits if Dagger lives or dies, and into a fight we go. Lani's basic attacks sometimes inflict annoy, which is annoying, and now she also comes with the spell Reflect. Joke's on her though, as Dagger has that too, so whenever she hits the group with her water spell, it's also reflected back to her. I also use Reflect on Vivi so he can still cast magic on her too. Not that his magic seems to be doing much. Lani's pretty strong with her aura spells and she's quite a bit of a challenge. Though she's no Beatrix, and when I eventually manage to blind her, the battle is much easier. And we finish using our new Eidolon. In her own words, she lets us go for now. Either way, the Gladius we stole from her comes with another new ability for Zidane called Regenerate. What this does is it allows Zidane to throw an Aether on all party members when in combat. This is really handy, especially at the moment as Dagger, Vivi and Quina use a lot of MP. Now for the part I hate most, which involves a lot of switches, gargants and mining. Jesus Christ! But with all that done, we eventually make our way out into the outer continent. We meet a cute but greedy ladybug. Then it's into a town called Condi Pete, where we can finally rest up and restock all of our potions and buy some new equipment, as the enemies on the continent are quite a bit stronger. Shut the hell up! I mean, rally ho. Anyway, inside, and surprisingly, we run into a black mage. Unlike the others we come across, this one does not attack us and runs away. According to the guy by the front gate, there is a village of black mages nearby, so off we go. This is where we come across our first quiz battle thing, and I'm pretty sure that all the questions have been changed, but either way, I'm so smart it doesn't matter, and we enter the forest and kill some birds, to then find the hidden black mage village. These black mages are different from the ones we've encountered before, with the first notable thing being that they talk. Although they don't like us in their village, they're too polite not to serve us, and we get a bunch of new items and abilities. But I'll talk about them when we actually use them. While we are loving life shopping, Vivi is having a horrible conversation about death, which only slightly scared me when I was a kid. So yeah, it turns out the black mages have a really short lifespan, and sooner or later they just stop. Pretty sad really that Vivi has found his people, only to be told that it's temporary as their lifespan is limited. Seriously, this game is kinda depressing. Anyway, we get some more intel with the black mages telling us they've seen Kuja's silver dragon on the other side of Condi Peak, towards an area called Sanctuary. Now with the destination, we leave the village, but before we head back to Condi Peak, let's have a look at some of our new abilities. First off is Zidane, and his new exploder weapon teaches us warm up and windfall. Warm up is pretty much just a might ability and raises Zidane's strength. It's not bad, but I didn't really use it much, though his other ability windfall is very good. It hits all enemies and also reduces their defense and magic defense. This move is amazing and I use it a lot. Nothing new with Dagger apart from using Zidane's Gladius. And as for Vivi, he's learnt a new spell called Prolepsis, which hits with a non-elemental damage and also hits a second time after a few seconds of use. Bit of a weird spell, but it's pretty decent and it isn't too bad on MP consumption. There's nothing new for Quina apart from some spells and the blue magic, but again, I don't really use many of them, so I'm not 100% sure what is new and what isn't. Anyway, we are back at
Rally Hall,
and it turns out only people that are permitted to venture towards Sanctuary are couples who've just been married. Well, there's 4 of us, so Zidane and Dagger get married, and then Vivi and Quina do too. I don't think that's very legal. Okay, now that they are married, Dagger and Zidane decide to adopt a child named Aiko, which is handy as Quina decides to run off and eat a Moogle. Aiko is similar to Dagger in that they can both use white magic and use Eidolons, but Aiko is probably the better white mage of the two. Aiko also starts with auto regen, and that's about it. I don't think she's much different in this mod, not that I really end up using her much anyway. Carrying on, and there's a big spooky tree in the distance and an ogre who almost kills us straight away. This is going to go so well. As I've said before, trying to get your team revived in this mod is not an easy feat, especially as this arsehole likes to constantly use Earthquake. I don't think I've even managed to get Aiko revived as he constantly kills her straight away. Either way, this fight sucks and it took me way too long to remember that Dagger has float, which would have made Earthquake completely miss us. By this point, I've used 500,000 Phoenix Downs, and any damage I've done, he just heals with a Kuraga. So I choose to just die and start again. The second attempt begins and I forget to heal myself beforehand, but it's not really an issue now as I have 2 white mages. I remember to apply float this time, and I also take the time to focus with Vivi. Now all focused up, Vivi is doing pretty good damage, and Prolepsis shows just how strong it can be. I also throw in a few Blizzaras as well, and this big arsehole dies. Now the path is clear, we can get through into Maiden Sari. This place has had better days and used to be home to the summoners, but now it's only Aiko and a bunch of Moogles. We get cooked a nasty meal and pee on Aiko's house. The next day arrives and we head back towards the Ifa tree. Zidane messes around with the barrier for a bit until Aiko removes it. Inside, and I keep getting attacked by undead monsters. Unlike the Final Fantasy VIII mod I played before, the undead here are still weak to healing items and spells, apart from one in particular, but yeah, otherwise with 2 white mages in my party, the tree is really easy and we storm through. Down the misty ledge thing lift, we get attacked by undead dragons. Oh, you fucked up. Now we've reached the bottom, and for some reason I've always thought this place was a giant harp. I know that sounds weird, but well, yeah, I am. Does anyone else see what I mean? Anyway, that aside, we get attacked by the soul cage. This giant tree looking monster thing might be trying to kill us, but he's very honest and cannot lie, and tells us the true reasoning behind the mist, and if we defeat him, it will be no more. So into the fight we go. Straight away, the soul cage has reflect applied and opens with level 5 death. Luckily for me, none of my team is affected by that. I'm pretty sure that this boss would have been changed so that healing items and spells have no effects on him. I don't really want to waste my items on him anyway, and it's kind of boring just to kill him off straight away. So I keep Vivi as support using focus a few times, and I'm not really sure what to do with his magic. I mean, I could put reflect on him I suppose, but that would have been a good idea. Soul Cage uses Shockwave, which also drains my MP, and Mustard Bomb. Shockwave isn't really an issue, as I can just use Zidane's new ability Regenerate to restore everyone's MP. I use Vivi's Perplexis and it turns out it can't be reflected, and there's not really much else to say about this fight. Obviously I didn't fall into the trap of casting fire on it, not that I could have anyway, as it would have just been reflected. So yeah, with a few of Vivi's spells, Dagger's Eidolons and Zidane smacking it, the Soul Cage dies and the mist dissipates. So if the ships are powered by mist and we've caused it to stop, does that mean anyone that was flying crashed and died? Anyway, this also means that the production of black mages will stop, crippling Alexandria's army, but it also means Vivi and the mages still alive will be the last of their kind. But technically we've caused another genocide. Another one of those damn Mughals interrupts the moment and we have to head back to Maiden Sari. While we are gone, someone has stolen a precious stone from the village, and it turns out to be that bitch Lani again. But she's not alone this time, and a guy with more hair-to-head ratio appears. Clearly a man of honour, he tells Lani to scram and gives back the item she stole. What a stand-up guy. Oh wait, who wants to fight Zidane to the death for reasons? Zidane fights the scarlet-haired man and he just starts jumping around everywhere. His attacks aren't doing tremendous damage, but he does have high speed, so he gets in quite a few good slaps in. Sometime into the fight, he just randomly gets even stronger. On top of this, he has a stupid amount of health. I mean, I'm doing attacks like Windfall that deal 1000 damage and also some tranced attacks, but he just doesn't want to die. He's so strong, he actually manages to kill me twice. Third time's the charm though, and the scarlet-haired man is defeated. Embarrassed, he jumps away. Dagger and Zidane have a little boat ride, which triggers Dagger's PTSD. Turns out Dagger wasn't born in Alexandria and was in Maiden Sari the day it was destroyed. She was aware that she had grown up in Alexandria from the age of 6 and never questioned anything before. To be fair to Dagger, I struggled to remember why I entered the room most of the time, so I'll let that slide. The next day, Aiko decides to join our group but gets overshadowed by the scarlet-haired man, who also decides to join us because more reasons. So Amaranth joins the team, and 2 has been overworked a bit in this mod. He's somehow even more useful, but I'll explain his changes as and when they come. We head back to the Eiffel tree to finish off our business there, though now it looks like Kuja has rocked up to see what has happened to his tree. He's also been followed by Queen Bran, who takes advantage of the fact that Kuja cannot create an army now, and plans to get rid of him as he is competition. To do this, she summons Bahamut, which inevitably becomes her downfall as Kuja has much more up his sleeve. Looks like he has control of the ship called the Invincible, which is able to turn an Eidolon against its summoner. So Bran has a really bad time and finds out how much a Mega Flare actually hurts. As you can imagine, Queen Bran dies shortly after, not before being able to see the error of her ways and how greed has destroyed everything she holds dear, including the relationship with her daughter. In her final moments, she apologises to Dagger and hands over control of Alexandria to her. Some time has passed and everyone is back in Alexandria. Although their queen turned into a tyrant, she was a well-loved ruler for many years until her obsession with power took over. Now having the responsibility of a whole kingdom under her reigns, Dagger prepares for her role as the new queen. On to disc 3 now, and the preparation for Dagger's coronation are in the works. Zidane is sulking in a bar while Steiner and Beatrix flirt awkwardly. Back in the bar, Zidane runs into Dr. Tot, who is heading back to Trino, and as Zidane is being a whiny little bitch, he chooses to tag along. Another bug carriage ride and the group is in Trino, this time to take part in a card game that can't hold a candle to triple triads. Boo, you suck! But before that, I go to the weapon shop to get revenge on that damn bird, but this time it's a Kato. During this fight, I use a new ability that I've got with Zidane called Transcend. What it does is that if the trance gauge is at least 50% full, it will force a trance. And yes, it can also be used on other members of the party. This is a great ability, especially as the enemies all get another massive damage boost on disc 3. But it doesn't really do much for me here as I still die quite a few times. Stupid damn cat. Anyway, it's time to enter the Tetra Master competition and somehow I decimate in the first round. I have no idea how to play this game, but it doesn't really seem to matter as I won the second round too. Now into the final round and I'm against the reigning champ who humbles me. Crappy damn Tetra Master, I hate you so much. Anyway, while we are wasting time playing cards, Kuja appears in Alexandria. This is where everything goes downhill as Bahamut is summoned and starts attacking the city. Dagger might be new to this whole queen thing, but she flawlessly gives out orders to her soldiers, which earns us the angel earrings. So excited, she takes a nap. Now it's time for Alexandria's finest to get involved and Beatrix can learn new abilities, how interesting. Talking about new abilities, Steiner's Ice Brand teaches Quadra Slash. slash. There's nothing too fancy with this ability, as all it is a basic attack that causes multi-elemental damage. I guess it's a stand-in for when you don't have Vivi with you. Anyway, it's off to fight some bug things, and if you haven't noticed yet, Beatrix seems to have a trance bar. Well, it's not just for show, as Beatrix can now trance like everybody else. During her trance, her appearance does not change, apart from her glowing, but that's not all, as now her psych and abilities are changed to Shiroken. While tranced, Beatrix is able to pick from a selection of commands, all mixing her Psycan and white magic together in one attack. If we zoom in just over here, we can see that she can do multiple combinations like Thunder Slash and Cura, as well as the very powerful Clim Hazard paired with Holy. Her trance is pretty powerful, but it's also fairly MP consuming. As for stat bonuses, I don't think she gains any damage boost like Steiner, but she's pretty damn strong anyway, and I don't really think she needs any more help. Back to Dagger, who has finally woken up, and Alexandria Castle appears to be alive. Venturing through it, it also starts transforming. Must be the same guys that built the lamb. While all this is going on, the group who headed to Trino have managed to find a ship to fly them back to Alexandria. So excited, Aiko forgets about gravity and free dives off the ship. Somehow surviving her fall, Aiko and Dagger summon the legendary Eidolon Alexander, who has absolutely no problem dealing with Bahamut. Oh damn. While this is happening, the others have managed to land somewhere and made their way into the castle. This is the last time we can come here, so I give the Tantarian another try. So it's back into the library and it's time to face off against this book again. I opt to use Amaranth, Vivi, Freya and Zidane. Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but the Tantarian isn't just a simple fight. Whenever damage is dealt to this boss while the book is closed, the damage amount is added to a hidden counter and resets to 0 whenever it exceeds 200. Basically, in simple terms, I have to apply 200 damage to this giant book before the actual boss pops his head out. 200 damage doesn't sound like a lot, but this book has massive defense and also counters every time I hit it. Most of the time it counters with an attack called Paper Storm, which hits all members of the party, pretty much killing Vivi and Zidane outright, every time. If it's not flinging paper at me, it's applying the Doom status effect, which will kill whoever it is cast on after a short amount of time, apart from Freya, who is my only character that is immune to this. A lot of death and spamming Freya's Dragon Life, the Tantarian finally shows its face. Add in a bunch of Phoenix Downs too, and I managed to land a hit on it with Zidane, only for it to decide to go back to hiding. Another 10 minutes of trying to find this book's face and I die. Not to be deterred that easily, I go in again and I die again. Fucking book. I'm determined to kill this thing, and as there is nowhere around for me to grind out some levels or gain AP, I bite the bullet and reload my save from when the group arrived in Trino. Annoyingly in Trino, the only other party member I can find is Freya, but she's pretty important to my strategy anyway. So I spend more time than I'd like to admit leveling her and Zidane up. While in Trino, Zidane gets revenge on the beast in the weapon shop.
Yeah, you ain't so fucking tough now, are you, bitch?
I go and lose the card tournament again. Alexandria is attacked and we are back to where we were. Zidane and Freya are a bit stronger now and also have learnt a few new abilities. The best one being Auto Potion on Zidane. Anyway, it's time for revenge. Poor Vivi and Amaranth can't seem to stay alive, so this fight is mainly down to Freya and Zidane. And this fight seems to go on forever. The Tantarian becomes rather shy and very rarely seems to show his face. I'm thinking that in this mod the HP limit for it to appear has either been increased or is maybe just now random when it does. I don't know. Lots and lots of high potions later, the Tantarian finally shows its face at the worst time as Zidane has just tranced. A bunch of ethers and solution 9s and this book is finally dead. My reward for this agonising fight was a pair of running shoes, which gives me the ability to learn auto haste, and a new one on the bottom called Time Leak. I can't remember what it is and who it's for at the moment, but I'm sure we'll eventually see. I suppose we should get back to what we're actually meant to be doing here, which involves me walking around everywhere but where I actually need to go, until eventually Zidane and the group make their way to the top section of the castle. Zidane plays hero here for some reason and wants to go ahead alone. A new big bad appears called Garland, who uses the ship the Invincible to destroy Alexander and the castle. Luckily, our team somehow survives this mini nuke and wakes up back in Limblum. After the stress of losing her kingdom, Dagger has become mute. But on the plus side, Queena is still alive and has appeared in Limblum. I don't think Queena can be killed. We talk to the Regent again and try to find a bunch of items that could possibly turn him back into a human, only for it to change him into a frog instead. Okay. With no airship and no idea where Kuja is, Vivi mentions that the Black Mages might know something. To get there, we need transport, so we are given a free boat called the Blue Narcissist. Jesus Christ, I need to learn to read. Before heading to the village, I spent a bunch of time grinding and playing Chocobo hot and cold. I can't get a gold one yet, so instead I settle with gaining the Red Mountain one, and all of the Chocographs I can get for now. All of these chests have given us items with some new abilities too, but I will explain them as we progress and use them. I guess now it's time to head to the Black Mage village, only to discover that it has been deserted by near enough everyone. We do find a mage who's by the cemetery, and he explains that they have all gone to work for Kuja as he has promised them that he knows a way to extend their short lifespan. We then have some more depressing conversations about death, while Dagger also contemplates her own feelings too. We get a tip that Kuja has taken the Black Mages to an area full of quicksand in the eastern side of the continent. Done here, we run back to our boat and head towards our location. Now here we have 4 pits full of quicksand in front of us. We have to find the correct one to fall through to take us into the hidden base, but it turns out I can't remember which one it is. Oh shit. If you choose the wrong pit, you are forced into a battle with an antlion and also start the fight caught in a back attack. This wouldn't seem so bad apart from the fact that I screw it up the second time and also the third. Oh, for fuck's sake. With 1 pit left to try, we finally enter the correct one. Unfortunately, it's also a trap and our team are now imprisoned by Kuja. Locked up and being threatened with a plunge in lava, Kuja gives Zadan a deal that if he can do an errand for him, he will totally 100% not kill our entire team. Aha, I totally believe you. The errand is to head to a place called Oliver. While there, he wants us to retrieve the Gulug Stone. This place is usually inaccessible without an airship, so being a gent, he lends us his. We also get the choice to take 3 others with us, so I opt to take Steiner, Queener and Freya. I've chosen them specifically for a reason, which I will explain. The group is assembled and we head out on Kuja's airship to the Forgotten Continent. Now landed, straight away I run into a couple of cactars who almost murder my entire party straight away. Okay then. Good job I'd done some grinding beforehand, as it looks like I'm still pretty weak for this area. Luckily for me though, I'm able to call the Chocobo not far from where I landed, so we just run straight to Oliver. Now to explain the reason why I've chosen who I have, which is because magic is sealed while inside of the structure. This place only gets weirder when I keep fighting these weird statues, and yep, it seems to crap out clones of our characters, which doesn't seem like a big deal until it creates a copy of Freya. Just like in Highlander, there can only be one, so our Freya gets banished. Forever, apparently. I have no idea if I can or how I'm supposed to get her back, but I guess I have no choice but to carry on and oh, it's another statue. This time it creates a clone of Steiner and banishes him too. Oh my god, I'm running out of characters. So yeah, now it's just Queener and Zidane, but on the plus side, the demon gods have given Freya back in place of Steiner. Whew. I was a bit concerned I was going to be left with no characters, but the mod creator made it so that only 1 character at a time can be banished. For now, I carry on and almost get killed by a bunch of birds, and stumble upon Steiner apparently. Where the hell have you been? Now I have everyone back, I avoid the statues like a plague, and then have a conversation with, well, Wall of Faces. What is going on in this game? Here is where we're told about the destruction of a planet called Terra, and to survive the Terrans devised a plan to merge Terra into Gaia. All of this information seems to come out of nowhere, but for now we won't really worry about it as we're only here for the Gulug Stone. So it's down this long foreboding elevator which takes us straight to our stone. It would be too easy to just take it and leave, so into a boss fight we go. And here we are fighting the legendary ship monster thing called Ark, who has no problem destroying my team. Oh shit. Okay, attempt number 2, and I make sure that everyone has auto potion equipped. Annoyingly, I have a bunch of normal potions, which the game will always use first, but it's okay as it's better than nothing, and Freya's Raised Wind helps a bunch too. Steiner comes in handy here as well with his abilities like armor break and just generally being a strong tank. Ark does apply Berserk on Steiner, which just ends up making him even stronger, so thanks, I guess. There's not really a lot to say about this fight. Ark uses a few strong abilities like Whirlwind and Boomerang, which hits everyone pretty hard, or Photon, which also hits hard but applies Berserk. It's not a super easy fight, but Freya is the biggest godsend here with her Dragon Breath ability, making her almost unkillable. Zidane also seems to be pretty strong here, tanking a lot of attacks, and also dishing out a fair chunk of damage with his trance. While he's doing that, Freya just keeps Steiner alive, who is also tranced, and Ark has no choice but to die. Queener was just there for moral support, I think. Either way, or while this is happening, we zip back to Aiko, who is still in Kuja's prison. He does the typical bad guy thing of telling her his plans, and also that Zidane only has 10 minutes to complete his mission, or everyone takes a dip in some lava. Obviously, the others aren't going to be back within the next 10 minutes, so someone is going to have to save them. Luckily for them, Sid has snuck into the base too. All of our lives are now in the hands of a frog, and if he doesn't act quick, we will all croak. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's up to Sid to disable the sand timer. The only problem is there's a monster in the way, but like a T-Rex, this monster can't see us if we don't move. Sneaking like a professional, Sid gets the key for the hourglass. Annoyingly though, the keyhole is out of reach for Sid, but conveniently someone has left a scale with weights right next to it. Why? Why is this here? This puzzle isn't too difficult and we just put the 2 heaviest items on the scale so Sid can climb up it. The hourglass trap is now disabled, which also opens all the doors to the prison cell. Now all we need to do is make our way around this very luxurious pit, blowing out candles and removing stones that if we leave will power up the upcoming boss, who is a giant slab.
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
This tombstone thing is apparently immune to every element in the game, though luckily for us, Vivi has learned Comet, which inflicts non-elemental damage. Amaranth is really good in this battle as he has abilities like Curse, which makes the inflicted vulnerable to a random element. He also has a new ability called Concentrate, which increases the magic stat of whoever he uses it on. And also his very first ability Chakra is great as it restores MP and HP to the selected target. And being that spells are now much more expensive, this is a godsend. With 2 white mages and a bunch of comets, this boss dies pretty easily. Maybe the rest of the bosses won't be that bad. Both teams have reunited in Kuja's chamber. From here on, no one is watching Aiko and she stupidly gets kidnapped. Because of this, we don't have a choice but to let Kuja walk away. Adding salt to the wound, he also takes his ship back, but apparently our boat has a couple of turbos in its engine. Catching up to Kuja, we see that he lands somewhere in the Lost Continent, and the only place nearby is Esto Gaza. This place is some kind of temple with an arsehole bishop in it. Turns out Kuja and his black mages have come through here recently, heading towards Mount Gulag. Carrying on, I have to take Vivi with me, and I take Amaranth and Queena with me as well, as they are both really good in this mod, which is handy as once we reach into the mountain, I come to realise enemies here are now on steroids. Looks like we've had another jump in difficulty, which isn't a surprise as we've reached a new continent, but yeah, this place kinda sucks. It only gets worse as when we make our way deeper, we are jumped by a bunch of dragons. As the battle begins, one of the dragons hits us with an aerial slash, which also seems to apply the haste status effect on us. I'm not sure if that's deliberate, especially as when Twister is used on us, it causes float. It's a bit odd, but I don't have much time to ponder on it, as straight away another Twister comes my way, killing everyone but Zidane. But even with his auto high potions, he dies. Luckily this time I remembered to save, so I'm not too far from the dragons again. In we go again. Queena and Vivi just want to be dead for the whole thing apparently, leaving Amaranth and Zidane to pull through. Here we use another one of Amaranth's brand new abilities called Starburst, which does a set amount of damage that depends on the enemy's level. I don't know the calculations for how it works, but either way it's pretty decent damage. Further in we find Zorn and Fawn trying to steal Aiko's Eidolons just like they did to Dagger. Unfortunately for them, their attempts keep failing. Turns out it's because of Aiko's Moogle friend Mog, who now turns Super Saiyan and kills 2 jesters in just 1 attack. Turns out Mog was an Eidolon the whole time and chose to stay beside Aiko to watch over her. Either way, Kuja minces back in rambling about trances and how that's the key to his plan and some other shit, then fuses the 2 dead jesters into a monstrosity, which of course we are left to deal with. Now against the melted Gemini. Well, I give up with these fucking names. Now against Melt, and Aiko has taken the place of Vivi. This boss's strategy is to use multiple status effects on the party like zombie, poison and pretty much whatever status effect is in the game. At most this is just annoying. I've been stocking up on so many items, so all it really does is cause a few missed turns. I summoned Carbuncle for I think maybe the first time ever when playing this game. Either way, when summoned, Carbuncle can apply different beneficial status effects depending on what add-on Aiko has equipped. I'll put them up here on the screen, though I suspect in the alternate fantasy mod, Carbuncle's abilities are random, as I have the Maiden Ring equipped and we get Diamond Light, which grants Vanish, where it should have been the default, which is normally Ruby Light, and that would have given us Reflect. Whatever, it doesn't really matter as Old Melt casts Bio on the whole party, which removes the Vanish effect straight away. Anyway, the fight drags on for a while, but there's nothing else new and it eventually ends. Annoyingly, Zidane and Queena get nothing from the battle as they were both inflicted with virus during the fight. But yeah, the dust has settled and the black mages stop following Kuja now as they know he's a lying piece of shit. We also find Regent Sid's wife, Hilda, just chilling in a room. Could you not hear us screaming? You could have helped. Now Hilda is rescued, Sid no longer has to be a frog and is returned to human form. On top of this, Kuja apparently told Hilda his entire plan on how he wants to use this world as a way to gain power, and that he himself isn't from this planet either. Luckily for us, he also told Hilda of an old castle in the Forgotten Continent, which could have the information we need on how to traverse between worlds. The only way to access this area is with an airship, and unfortunately we have to wait for one to be built. In the meantime, we've come to realise that Dagger is nowhere to be found in Limblum, and that is because she somehow made her way back to Alexandria. How did did you get there? We find Dagger and she can now miraculously speak again and has come to terms with her grief. And all it took was a new haircut. Dagger's haircut isn't the only new thing, as work on our airship has finished and we now have access to it. Our first portal call is straight back into Alexandria for the sole reason of speaking to Beatrix again. She asks us what we would do if Kuja is too strong for us and then decides to lend us her strength, and she joins the team indefinitely. I mean, it's not really a big surprise, as we saw earlier, her equipment could be changed and she could also learn new abilities, plus the trance she also gains too. Apart from those changes, there isn't really much different about her, and to be honest, I don't actually end up using her a great deal. Although she's a strong character, she doesn't really excel in anything in particular. But yeah, maybe it'd be interesting to try running the vanilla game with just Beatrix, who knows. Anyway, other than recruiting Beatrix, we stop in a few places, buy some new stuff and do some more Chocobo Hot and Cold. While doing this, I did end up learning a new ability with Freya called Six Dragons, but all it seems to do is petrify me, so I don't really get the point of that. But yeah, oh well, I guess it's time to head to Ibsen's castle. Entering the area, and Amaranth decides to be cool and edgy for some reason, and chooses to go off into the castle on his own. Hopefully Amaranth knows about this castle's gimmick, which is that it's upside down. Why is that a gimmick? Well, the castle operates on opposite day rules. What this means is that strong weapons are now weak and weak weapons are now strong. Luckily for us, as we enter the castle, there is a chest containing Zidane's starter dagger. Although the stats on screen say it's far weaker than what we already have equipped, that's a lie, so long that we're in the castle, that is. Luckily the castle doesn't affect armor, so we don't have to worry about changing all of that. Inside we head and we get into a fight with a Cerberus, who gets gobbled up teaching Quina the auto life blue magic. I also get into a fight with 3 Tomberries, luckily all inflicted with trouble. I also noticed that when I use Zidane's ability Windfall, he attacks twice. He doesn't do this any other time in the game, apart from this castle. I'm not really sure why it's happening, but I don't care, it's free damage. Anyway, we catch up to Amaranth, who is somehow now even edgier. We then check out a wall full of mirrors, which we proceed to steal. Unfortunately, that seems to really upset this big bug thing called Tahaka? Either way, I'm not giving them back, so it turns into a fight. This fight isn't too bad, as I have Quina on heal duty and also applying Mighty Guard to the team. Steiner is debuffing with his abilities like Power Break, though eventually Sleep stops working and Vivi gets rammed into oblivion. But it's okay, as I have plenty of Phoenix Downs now. Tahaka does pretty decent damage with its ram attack, but the one to watch out for is when it casts Blizzaga, as it hits the whole team and can also freeze everyone now due to the new status effects on elemental spells. Zidane trances, so I choose to use his strongest attack, Solution 9, which does pretty much nothing. I should have probably guessed that. Anyway, Quina is the real MVP here, and eventually this boss dies. Not before giving us a hint about breaking all the seals. We leave the castle, but Amaranth hasn't made it outside yet. Zidane heads back inside to find out that Amaranth has fallen. He and Zidane seem to grow a bromance here, and Amaranth stops acting like a teenager from now onwards. Now everyone is outside and they discuss the murals that held all of the mirrors and what the Tant thing said about breaking the 4 seals. We come to the conclusion that we need to travel to each of the shrines and do something. At this point, the party isn't really sure why they are doing this, apart from it has something to do with Kuja's plans. Either way, it's time to split up into groups of 2, with Dagger and Aiko heading towards the water shrine. Sadly, Beatrix offers to go with them, which kind of sucks, as I wanted her to come with me, but whatever, I guess. Freya and Amaranth take on the fire shrine, which is actually just a giant volcano. Then it's off to the wind shrine, where Steiner and Vivi team up. The wind here seems pretty strong, pushing Vivi back, but luckily Steiner has been bulking. And lastly, it's to the earth shrine, and this is sadly the only one we actually play as any of the characters in. I was hoping the mod creator had added some battles or something for the other shrines, but that's probably quite a big ask, so yeah, fair. Anyway, into the earth shrine with Zidane and Quina, and we see that everyone is having a bad time in each one of their shrines. Further in, we place down our corresponding mirrors, and this is when every group gets jumped by a guardian of the galaxy, of the mirrors, of the shrines. For now, our attention is on the earth shrine, as it's the only battle we're currently facing. Our opponent is the earth guardian, and straight off the bat he uses strong fire and ice magic. He also uses flare and double slash, which inflicts the doom status effect. Sadly, neither of these characters have prevent doom on, but that doesn't appear to be my only problem here, as I stupidly removed Zidane's body heat ability, so unfortunately when he's hit with a fire Aga, he is inflicted with heat. Well, shit. And very shortly after, Quina is killed by Doom. No, they're definitely dead. Okay, all the way back to my last save in Ibsen's castle. I killed a Tant boss for the 2nd time, and then finally drop everyone off again, not before remembering to apply body heat on Zidane. Now unable to be frozen or inflicted with heat, this fight is actually pretty easy. The Guardian tries to finish off Quina, but auto life actually comes in handy this time. And this fight ends with Zidane chopping the Earth Guardian in half. Looks like everyone else was triumphant in their shrine, so it's back to the airship to pick everyone everyone up. Now we have placed all 4 mirrors into each shrine, the way to Shimmering Isles has opened. Supposedly, this is the spirit road to Terra. I always thought the animation looked very similar to Zidane's Trance Solution 9. Yes, how suspicious. Through the portal, and we have arrived into Terra. Immediately we are greeted by an old man. We've seen this guy before. He was the one that was in the Invincible when Alexandria was destroyed. We will talk to him some more later, as for now we venture further into Terra, stealing everything that isn't tied down. We also meet some of the local monsters that reside here, and of course they are much stronger than usual. I've sped up this fight in the background and it still goes on for ages. So yeah, that's probably not a good sign. We follow a mysterious girl until we reach a small village called Bramble, where Dagger's PTSD is triggered seeing the Invincible ship. We leave Dagger and the group behind to do some reconnaissance with Zidane. Everyone here seems to speak in tongues and is almost nonsensical. What the fuck is in her face? Somehow this Moogle has ended up here being pulled into Terra, which I suppose is good, as I can now save and also restock on some items. I still hate you though. Finding somewhere to rest, we plop Dagger down and everyone tries to make sense of what's happening. Later on, we talk to the same mysterious girl we spoke to earlier, and she explains that everyone here is a genome, created by that old man we spoke to earlier. If you haven't quite noticed yet, Zidane has a striking resemblance to the genomes. Confused as to why he is the only one of his kind to be on Gaia, he is told it's because he is special. Oh, that's mean. And he has been given a greater purpose. So yeah, Zidane is originally from Terra and has been created for the purpose of gathering souls from Gaia for the restoration of Terra. This is a big old plot twist in the game, which kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere, but yeah, whatever, let's go along with it. Either way, Zidane justifiably doesn't take this information very well and disappears. It turns out he's gone to speak to Garland, as he is the mastermind behind everything, and if anyone has answers, it will be him. Garland has no problem telling us his plans as we head deeper into Pandemonium. Garland also talks about a special genome he created 24 years prior. Its will was way too strong to be used as a vessel, so Garland used its strength to disrupt the cycle of souls on Gaia. This genome is pretty much Zidane's brother, and yep, as you have probably guessed, it's Kuja. Kuja's mission was to spread chaos and war across Gaia for the collection of souls. All was going to plan until Kuja found out about Zidane's creation, and unhappy about the creation of a genome that has more power than his own, he felt threatened, and dumped a baby Zidane into the world of Gaia, which he would eventually destroy. Oh, brothers, am I right? Garland continues to ramble on about how the mist is the souls of the dead, and how exactly the 2 planets will be merged to create a new Terra. And a lot of information is dumped here, but that's pretty much the gist of it. And yeah, Zidane is a bit overwhelmed, so decides to take a nap. This is when we also see that Kuja has made his way into Terra and is planning on taking revenge on his creator. Sometime later, and done with his nap, Zidane reawakens and is a bit depressed. His friends have found him, but he's too moody to deal with them, and would rather take on this horse dragon thing. Apparently Zidane isn't aware that the enemies here are pretty much small bosses, so he's gonna die pretty soon. But luckily for him, Freya and Amaranth turn up to help. Instead of thanking them, he still thinks he could take care of himself. I mean, dude, we've died a lot of times in this game. Take your friends. Into the next room, Steiner, Beatrix and Queen are taking on a giant bug thing, and yes, your eyes don't deceive you. There is in fact 2 of them now, and they're pretty strong. Eventually Zidane joins the fight and the 2 bugs get exterminated. Still all mopey, he carries on alone until he's jumped by a giant turtle. I generally crap myself here, as I think I'm actually about to die. That is until Dagger appears to save the day. Zidane's trance attacks are doing pretty good damage, and Dagger is providing great support, so the Elementalist goes down pretty quick. Talking to Dagger and his friends, Zidane comes to his senses and stops running away. I love you guys too. I proceed to get really pissed off running through this stupid room of lights, which will put you in a battle every time you're near one, and I kept going the wrong way. Fuck these lights. Ahead we play around with an elevator and a bunch of teleporters until we reach the observatory where Garland is. We have a nice little chit chat which he ruins by then setting a dragon on us. Again, Queener is our support with Mighty Guard, and Steiner is debuffing the dragon as much as possible. I actually scanned this boss so we have a little bit of a comparison to the vanilla version, and no surprise it has a little bit more health than usual and a lot less MP to even out its larger damage output. Apart from that, the silver dragon isn't drastically different. Even so, this doesn't stop things going downhill pretty quickly actually. Shockwave has near enough killed everyone apart from Zidane and Steiner, who are holding on to life by a hair. I try to revive my party, but as usual that is not an easy task, and the silver dragon throws out a twister, killing Dagger and Steiner. Luckily beforehand I equipped Zidane with something that is immune to wind, but this doesn't really do much for me as he eats a shockwave and a claw. Okay then. I swap Queen for Freya and equip Steiner with the Ragnarok sword, which boasts a much higher attack and also has a new ability called Sword Dance. This is a pretty strong attack as it hits all enemies with non-elemental damage. It's pretty much Klim Hazard, but fancier. I also go into the fight having Dagger equipped with the half MP ability, which makes her an absolute healing unit. On top of Freya's dragon abilities and Steiner entering trance, this second attempt is actually pretty easy. Though we aren't out of the woods yet, as straight into the next fight against Garland. He's pretty scary with his abilities like Multi-Comet and Psychonesis. Lots of abilities used and we're all getting low on MP, but luckily we have the regenerate ability with Zidane so we can replenish our lost MP pretty quick. Dagger is shining in this fight being support and also dishing out a fair bit of damage with our Dylons. Though somewhere through the battle, Garland starts using different attacks like Wave, which hurts a fair bit but also drains our MP. It's nothing too scary though, as Dagger is throwing out a bunch of Karagas and she even finishes off the battle with Rama. I don't really know what happened, but Dagger has suddenly become my best character. Anyway, again, we don't have time to celebrate as Kuja pops in and tries taking us on too. Straight away, he shows us one of his new abilities called Thunder Blast, which he seems to cast in fairly quick intervals. He also has another called Ankylosis. Really sure what that means, but either way, it doesn't do that much damage, but it does severely debuff whoever it's cast on. As you can see, all of Dagger's strength has been swept away. Luckily for me, Dagger is all about her magic, but not long after, Kuja casts it again, but on Steiner, removing all of his vitality. So yeah, Steiner's max HP is a whopping 1. Anyway, as the battle goes on, Kuja loves to spam Flare Star so much that he actually wipes the team. Oh, fuck, I'm gonna have to fight all of them over again. Okay, skipping ahead to the battle against Kuja, he is back to his shenanigans of spamming Flare Star, but this time I go in very aggressive with Zidane's trances and Steiner's brute strength, leaving Freya and Dagger to access support. This fight surprisingly drags on for quite a while, that is until Kuja takes a Mega Flare to the face.
That's for Bran, bitch!
Unfortunately, all of this causes Kuja to trance, giving him the spell Ultima, which he uses to kill our whole team. Luckily for us, this is a scripted event, and the game carries on with Kuja floating and stealing our kill on Garland. Talking about Garland, he pulls a Jedi move and talks to Kuja from the dead, informing him that just like his black mages, Kuja's lifespan is also limited. He, doesn't take the news very well. Jesus Christ, he's pissed. While Kuja goes bananas, we take the opportunity to get the fuck out of here. On our way out, we come across a ball of eyes, which is only slightly disturbing. Then we carjack the Invincible, not before gathering all the other genomes up. Everyone's on board and we finally start to leave. My PC apparently can't handle an FMV from a PS1 game here and stutters its way through. Don't you dare crash. We make it back to Gaia with our brand new ship. This is when we realise the whole planet is now engulfed in mist. This leads us onto Disc 4 now, where we start in the Black Mage village, as this seems like a good place for the genomes to stay, being that it is secluded in the woods. Now all of our buddies are safe, it's time to take the fight to Kuja, who is holding up by the Ifa tree, which is now glowing. Was it always like that? It is time to attack, and oh shit, that is a lot of dragons. Luckily for us, Limblum, Alexandria and Tantalus have come to provide backup, so we can head into this weird portal thing. We aren't through yet though, as we're thrown into a battle against a Nova Dragon, aka Shinryu. I use a new ability with Amaranth called Quick. What this does is whoever it is used on will do their next action twice. As you can imagine, this is pretty powerful, especially when Amaranth enters trance and can apply it to everyone at once. Not that he ever enters trance in this fight, as the Nova Dragon has no problem taking my team out with attacks like Shockwave and Tidal Wave. These aren't even the extent of what the Nova Dragon can do, and it also has an attack like Psychonesis and Aerial Slash. Did I also mention that every time we attack it, it counters? So yeah, that's great. Shockingly, it's not going well at all. So I panic and use Transcend on Zidane, forcing his trance, for him to die straight away. Oh shit. With only Freya alive now, I hope for the best and use Jump a bunch, but as I said, every time we attack, we get countered, so yeah, as soon as Freya lands, she's taken out. Attempt number 2, and I go in a little bit more prepared, equipping gear with wind and water resistance, and I also swap out Beatrix or Quina, as their blue magic, mainly Mighty Guard, is very useful. I have Amaranth use Quick on Zidane, and have Zidane use Windfall, as it does pretty good damage, but it also reduces the target's defense and magic defense. This fight carries on to be a bit of a slog. I'm quite certain I'm very underleveled here, but sooner or later the Nova Dragon takes a Solution 9 to the face, which does max damage, and then it dissolves. Okay, now that hurdle's out the way, we make our way into Memoria. This place is pretty weird as it uses people's memories to create itself. It makes this place quite trippy, but nonetheless, we have a cool atmosphere. And of course, there are random encounters here, and the first one I get into feels like a boss fight. So much so that it actually kills me. So yeah, I'm not even going to attempt any of the bosses yet, as just trying to level up here is pretty painful. Dagger is the MVP again, with Atomos doing max damage, putting us through most of these fights. So after a small grind, I feel pretty confident and head further in to face the Fire Guardian, Malaris. This big old snake bitch isn't too bad and doesn't deviate much from the vanilla version, apart from having much higher stats. By this point in the game, everyone has learned the body heat ability, so her usual trick of casting Mustard Bomb and waiting for us to kill ourselves isn't working. Her attack Sword Quiver now also applies the Trouble status effect, but that's nothing really, as an anointment can fix that straight away. The battle does go on for quite a while as she's pretty strong, but with Dagger and Queen on support and Zidane and Steiner beating her senselessly, the battle comes to an end. Or it would, apart from the fact Malaris has a final Hail Mary when she's defeated in the form of Raining Swords. All I need to do is tank this attack and then I win. And I'm dead. You bitch. So yeah, I go for all of that pain again, making sure I'm healed as much as possible and also have Mighty Guard applied. Queener and Dagger can't take it, but I prepared for that using Queener's Blue Magic Auto Life. Whew. With this hurdle out the way, we carry on through Memoria, which is getting weirder by the minute, until we reach a massive stairway that leads into a giant eye. Gross. Going to poke the giant eye, we are blocked by the Wind Guardian, Tiamat. We begin, and Tiamat casts a mass float on us, but that's not really a problem. Oh, Steiner has just been snorted away. That's okay, I've still got 3 more people. Oh, okay, there goes Dagger too. And Zidane is out of here too. Okay, but to be fair, Queener is pretty damn strong in this mod, so it's their time to shine. I use Bad Breath to inflict as many status effects as I can. Okay then, this is my fault as I forgot whenever I attack Tiamat counters with Snort. And if we're infected with Float, that means we straight up get ejected from the fight. Oh well, now that I remember this, it makes the fight the exact same. Tiamat is constantly mass floating us, so poor Zidane gets yeeted. But this isn't even the worst part, as Tiamat has the same absorb ability that Kuja has, making my team pretty weak. Throw in some strong attacks and a twister or two, and I die again. Time for a change of plans. Swap out Zidane for Freya and Steiner for Vivi. The idea is to use Freya and Queener as support, while Dagger and Vivi dish out as much damage as they can. Freya's dragon abilities like Raise Wind and Dragon Life are really useful here, and as always, Queener is great with their blue magic, though Vivi's magic off the bat isn't very strong, so I spend a couple of turns having him focus. I do eventually throw out a Blizzaga to see where we're at, and oh damn, Vivi is back. It takes a bit of time to get him there, but when we do, he dishes out a lot of damage. But this seems to upset Tiamat and he wipes my team out. Don't panic though, as Freya has used Dragon Life and Queener has cast Auto Life on themselves. We do revive and rally. This tactic seems to be working until he goes to use Jetfire again, but luckily I predicted it and defended with everyone. Queener and Dagger go down, but are shortly revived. Dagger's half MP cost and high magic stat easily cures the team, and she even finishes off Tiamat with her Eidolons. That boss sucked so much arse, I never want to do that again, so as we carry on, I run away from everything. Why didn't I just run backwards and save? Well, yeah, that would have been a good idea. Running away is just as effective as we reach the next save point. Queener drowns, and weirdly no one seems to care. I stupidly piss off Hades, which I very quickly come to regret. Yeah, I'll leave you alone then. So it's on to our next Guardian, and this time it's the Water Chaos Kraken. As you can imagine, he loves to use water attacks, but again, I planned ahead, equip an armor that reduces water damage or straight up absorbs it. So yeah, this one should be pretty easy. Kraken has Reflect applied to itself, but it works strangely here. When the Kraken casts water on itself, it absorbs the spell, healing itself, but also reflects it too. It's a bit strange, but the worst part is Vivi can't really do much here, so long as the Kraken has Reflect. Before you say why don't I have null Reflect on Vivi, well that's because he hasn't learnt it. I can't actually remember if that ability is even in this mod, but yeah. Anyway, the next idea is to use Zidane's ability Transcend to force Dagger into trance. While she's tranced, she uses Rama, which eventually kills off the Kraken's tentacles. Now that it doesn't have its suckers, it's also lost the Reflect it had, so Vivi can now go to town, and go to town he does. Well, that was a nice and easy one. I actually have a much harder time with a random behemoth who almost kills me. Jesus. Onwards, and now climbing a ladder precariously reaching above a nova, we head further into Memoria, where we find Vivi's ultimate weapon, the Mace of Zeus, and also our next Guardian, Lich. Lich has a new ability called Plague, which inflicts the zombie status effect and damage whoever it is cast on. It's not too scary though, as it's easily cured with a magic tag. The only other tricks I have to worry about is Lich casting level 5 death. death. But I prepared for that in advance, making sure no one's levels are a multiple of 5. So he can't really do much to us, and oh shit, he's cast Mega Death instead. Okay, that's new. Looks like the only way to survive that is to be inflicted with zombie like Dagger was. Speaking of Dagger, she does her best to revive the whole team, which she does manage for about 2 minutes until everyone gets murdered again. Before Zidane was knocked out, he was inflicted with zombie, which now makes him impossible to revive. Not that it really matters, as Dagger was inflicted with doom and her time runs out. So yeah, that didn't go well, so it's time for a change up. Steiner and Zidane are traded for Vivi and Ico. Ico is doing pretty good damage with Holy, which seems to piss Lich off, causing him to use another new ability called Final Sentence, which inflicts the whole team with doom. Awesome. It's going downhill pretty quick and everyone is dead. Lich hates Ico so much he gets one last slap in before she dies. The game must have felt sorry for me here, as it gives me another chance with Rebirth Flame. This is something that is also in the vanilla game too, and it works with Ico first learning the Phoenix summon and then of course dying. I'm pretty sure it becomes more likely to happen depending on the amount of Phoenix pinions in our inventory. I might be wrong, but either way we're all back on our feet. Okay, now we are all up and Vivi starts casting Fire Arga on Lich. Sadly, the bonus from focus reverts when he's knocked out, but it's still doing okay damage, I guess. On top of this, Dagger is summoning Atomos, who is doing max damage. God dang it. It's pretty much a race at this point. If Lich casts Mega Death again, it's over. So it is all in with as much damage as possible. Thankfully though, with everyone nuking Lich with magic, he can't take it and he dies. To celebrate this, we take a stroll in space till we reach the crystal that Garland was talking about. This place sucks, as all the enemies here are crystal versions of the bosses we just fought. They aren't quite as strong as their counterparts, but they are still very easily able to kill me. Even if I do go through all the effort of killing them, it's kind of pointless, as they don't reward any XP and the AP they do give isn't that great. So yeah, we'll just run away from these. Anyway, further up to the tip of the crystal and we are just outside of our final battle. Once we head through this portal here is no turning back, so hopefully I'm prepared enough. Though looking at my levels, I'm probably not. But screw it, we've managed to make it this far, so let's go for it. In through the portal and we've caught up to Kuja. He spouts off about how if he has to die, then so does everyone else, which I guess also includes us. But not one to get his hands dirty, he sets Deathgeist on us. Straight away he casts Meteor, which almost decimates the team. So that's pretty bad, but it gets worse when I think Deathgeist casts Grudge on Zidane, only to realise there has been a Tomberry behind my team the whole time. You sneaky little bastard. Deathgeist also has its usual attacks like Twister. That isn't too worrying, as I've equipped wind resistant gear on some of my team, though I am more worried about spells like Meteor and Death, and that damn Tomberry too, who by the way I can't attack, so he's there indefinitely. I'm sure you can see where this is going. Quina isn't quite strong enough to do this solo and dies. Not to be deterred, we head back in again, sticking with the same plan, and I'm dead again. Third time's the charm. The only thing I've changed is I've switched Zidane out for Amaranth. Deathgeist opens up with a Meteor again, which is always great, but it's okay as I'm able to rally from this. Dagger is inflicted with Mini, but luckily this doesn't affect her magic output. Not that it really matters anyway, as she and Vivi take a dirt nap due to Deathgeist spicing things up with a level 4 death. You clever girl. Amaranth revives Dagger for her to instantly get bitch slapped to death, with Amaranth following shortly after. It's not looking good with a Mini inflicted Quina, but even when teeny tiny, they are still a beast, tanking hits and reviving the others, so there's still hope. All I need to do is revive Dagger and oh no, we're dead. I guess I'll go grind for a bit.
2 hours later.
Now slightly stronger, we have a bit more of a chance. Vivi is doing amazing damage, and so is Amaranth and Dagger. Quina is being the world's best support, and finally we kill Deathgeist. Fuck you, you giant dragon looking bitch. And you too, you Tomberry. Straight off the bat we run away to save, as I really don't want to have to do that fight ever again. Also I know I said there's like no return earlier, but I didn't realise you could actually walk back out, so yeah. Ignore that. Back in, and even Kuja is surprised we killed Deathgeist. I mean, so am I. Unhappy we killed his pet, he attacks us. And the music for this fight is so good. And that's the only part I like about it, as Kuja is pretty strong. He does his usual shenanigans of casting a bunch of flares and applying Reflect on himself. Amaranth is amazing here with his quick ability, which we applied to Dagger. So now she's double casting Atomos, who is hitting pretty hard. It looks like Kuja has the quick ability too though, as he hits everyone with a flare and then a holy. I managed to survive this somehow, but yeah, Kuja just starts spamming 500,000 flare stars at me. He kills Queener with his new multi-drain spell, which is exactly as it sounds. Why are you still draining with dead already? I switch out Vivi for Zidane as he can't do much with Kuja constantly having reflect applied. Plus Zidane has a better defense and can apply debuffs with his windfall ability. Reducing Kuja's magic and physical defense is handy now, as Dagger can go ham. Her double Atomosses are doing pretty much max damage every time now. It does get pretty hairy at one point with only Amaranth alive, barely. But once we revive Dagger, she Karagas everyone back to good health while Amaranth uses his revive on the others. Was Dagger always this good? I never used to use her that much, as her couldn't concentrate thing used to annoy the hell out of me, and I don't really remember high Dylons being that great either. Either way, she is probably my best character, after you of course, and she pretty much drags us through this fight. Kuja isn't just gonna die peacefully and cast a last ditch effort Ultima just like last time. Thankfully, we don't need to tank this, as it is also scripted. Everything is destroyed, including the crystal. All our enemies have been dealt with, so you think that would be it. Well, no. In a bit of a weird decision, Square decided to pop in one final hurdle. A boss of great power who has had zero setup through the whole game. And yeah, is just kind of here. Before we go into this fight, we need to use the power of friendship to allow us to select 4 characters to take on this last hurdle. We keep the same team from the last fight, and we ascend to fight Necron. This big blue rando is meant to represent death and dread itself. I'm not really getting that from its design, and even more confusing, originally the final boss was supposed to be Hades, you know, the lord of the underworld and death. But yeah, whatever, we get this guy instead. Did he always have those orbs? Whatever, we have no time to waste. I use Transcend on Zidane to put him into trance, and Dagger proceeds to use her Eidolons. Okay, he has pretty high defense, and he now also counters with a new attack called Fatal Cross. On the plus side, this nasty sounding attack doesn't do any damage, but it does apply a random status effect onto the whole group. As you can see, Dagger is turned to stone, Queener is silenced, Zidane is slowed, and Amaranth is blinded. Zidane shows his strength with a Solution 9 doing max damage, which pisses Necron off, leading him to use a neutron ring, killing everyone but Amaranth. Technically, Dagger is alive, so all we need to do is throw a soft at her, and it didn't work. So yeah, here's the thing. If Necron applies a status effect on any of the party, they are stuck with that debuff until it wears off on its own. This is super bad, as Dagger is out until she eventually softens up, and Queener is a lot less effective due to being silenced. It's pretty much up to Amaranth and Zidane, who try to chip away at Necron, but it's not that easy, as he just spams relentlessly. So apart from when he pauses to apply Mighty Guard to itself, Amaranth and Zidane try their best but can't keep up with the barrage of blue shockwaves. Oh, and another neat thing is apparently those orbs I mentioned in the beginning will just randomly attack us with whatever Arga level spells their element is, so yeah, that's pretty awesome. Dagger finally softens up and is able to heal the team, which is just in time, as we are struck with another bunch of multicasts and blue shockwaves. This fight is a little ridiculous, with Necron and his big old balls constantly attacking us. He also starts to take the piss with a bunch of Karagas negating any damage I've actually managed to do. This battle is going on for ages, and all I'm managing to do is keep us alive until I don't. I'm a bit salty here, so I continue instead of reloading my save. I should really go back to my save and fight Kuja again, but it doesn't really matter anyway, as nothing changes, with Necron handing me my own arse. Quite a few times, actually. I think I should prepare myself a bit better, so I reload and do some more grinding, only then to somehow now get stuck on Kuja. I'm about to lose my mind. Anyway, Kuja is eventually beaten, leaving us only Necron to deal with. This time I swapped out Queener for Steiner. He's kind of been sitting on the bench for most of the game, but his high damage output and defense are more useful here than Queener's blue magic, and even though he does end up getting blinded, his abilities don't miss, and they hit pretty hard. I'm also a bit more prepared in regards to elemental absorption. It's still not an easy fight, but we do seem to be doing better this time, actually managing to dish out a fair bit of damage. This is until I throw a Phoenix down on Dagger. I somehow resisted putting my fist through my monitor, and I go back into the game, kill Kuja again, and fight this big blue bitch for like the 4th time now, I think. Kill Kuja, revive, face Necron. Back here again, it has been 18 minutes of pure pain. That is until my boy Steiner. He comes through with a critical hit, finally putting an end to this nightmare. We are all teleported back to Gaia by the Eiffel tree, which is now going a little berserk. Sid picks up the team just in time, but Zidane can sense Kudra is nearby, and although Kudra has been a pain in the arse, he is technically Zidane's brother, and knowing this, we can't leave him here to die alone. Everyone else flies away while Zidane practically turns into Sonic the Hedgehog. And in his final hours, Kudra finally chills and turns out to be actually a pretty good guy. He was the one who teleported the party back from Terra and regrets the decisions he's made. But he doesn't have to feel bad for long as he gets eaten by a bunch of plants. Plants in this game are just damn. We pick up sometime into the future and the game gives us one last gut punch with Puck running into who he thinks is Vivi. We find out it is one of Vivi's sons? Clones? Sadly, Vivi's short life came to an end sometime after the final battle. And this game is so depressing. On the plus side though, everyone else is having a great time doing their own thing, like being adopted and falling in love and all that kind of shit. To celebrate, Tantalus puts on a show that started it all in Alexandria. And ooh, who is that mysterious figure hiding their face? Ooh. Yeah, it's Zidane. Everyone's happy to see him, except Vivi, who's dead. And everyone lives happily ever after. So yeah, that was the alternate fantasy mod. It's strange, it didn't really seem to change much, but somehow made it feel very different from the vanilla version. I think I actually prefer this version much more, and I quite like the increase in difficulty. Now, I know I died a bunch, but the difficulty isn't super drastic, it's just different. The enemies do pack a harder punch, but at no point did I think it felt unfair, apart from maybe Necron. But yeah, it reminded me of the first time I played 9 and had to learn the boss's mechanics and weaknesses. On top of this, the changes in the party's abilities really help make this run feel fresher. The synergy is much better, and I like the fact that we can't do bullshit like Limit Glove and Dragon Crest just to nuke our way through. Yeah, I didn't dive into it a lot as well, but the equipment and abilities have all been tweaked, removed, or even added to, which was interesting. There was also a lot more subtle things that had been changed. I'm sure some of you who know about FF9 a lot more than I do have probably noticed these things that I've missed. But yeah, there's also a couple of big changes added that I haven't actually told you. A lot of this is endgame content, so if you want to know, you'll have to find out yourself, which I suggest you do. Alternate Fantasy didn't change up as much as the Crystal Remaster did for 8, but it changed enough to make this 25-year-old game feel fresh again. And that's why the modern community is so important for these old classics. So I'll say it again, check out the Memoria mod created by Alberus. Alberus, I'm still butchering your names, I'm sorry. But this mod is crucial and also has many other mods available within its software. In there is where you'll find another mod I used called the Meguri mod by Z-Pilot, which makes this game look pretty stunning. This is now a necessity for me every time I play this. Then finally, the Alternate Fantasy mod itself by Trility. A lot of effort and love has clearly gone into this mod and it's well worth checking out. I've enjoyed my playthrough of it and I kind of think of it as a FF 9.5, as all it does is add to the game and fixes some issues the original had. And finally, a shout out to whoever has managed to make it all the way to the end of the video. You are the real ones and you are as amazing as Queener. So yeah, this will do. It's a very long video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz, and I will see you whenever my next video comes out, I guess. Yeah. Okay, love you, bye.